is Craig Desmarais. I'm one of your classmates, and I will be doing my presentation on student loan debt in the new millennium, Arena Bubble. For many years, going to college has been a rite of passage for young Americans. In the last 30 years, the availability of federal student loans have been available to assist anyone who has wanted to attend college, provided they get accepted at their institution. If they aren't accepted because of their grades, because of the non-discriminatory nature of the federal student loan program, they can most likely find an institution that will take them, provided they have at least a high school diploma. What has developed for many Americans is that because of the rising cost of attending college has risen more than the federal government gives out in aid, that many students upon graduation find themselves with large amounts of debt because of their student loans and no way to make payments, putting them in danger of defaulting on their student loans, which have serious consequences. With the thought that so much money has been given away to people who end up not being able to afford them, many have wondered if we're in the same kind of dangerous debt cycle that has occurred in the real estate market in the early mid-2000s. In other words, are we in a bubble? Effective slide showing basically where we are as far as median personal income. It has been pretty much steady throughout the years, but as we see that the cost of college has really skyrocketed since the last 30 years, since 1980. This can create this is a large gap in between what we're making and what we're actually paying for a college education. So that really can contribute to what some people call a bubble. Controversy. Over 40 million Americans are now in student loan debt for over $1.26 trillion. The newer students of today, the millennials as we call them, are now going to college at a time when tuition rates are far outpacing the amount that they can earn to pay them off once they graduate. Older Americans who were once able to attend college at a nominal fee might be on the hook for Parent Plus loans they might have taken out for their children just to have the same college experience that they had. Very rarely are people denied to access to student loans, and while it's for a benevolent reason, because it's known that an average college graduate is known to make more income per year than a non-graduate, but at what real cost? The idea that lending out public education funds to people seems to make sense on the surface, but considering the debt that is incurred, it can show that it can hurt them more than help them, and this seems counterintuitive to me. Quote regarding the student loan debt crisis, after assessing the overall financial structure of U.S. higher education and the significant reduction of public funding, Landry and Neubauer suggested that the governmental policy might be contradictory within those aspects that seek to continue provide increased funding, including the rise of private sector, for-profit education, and the overall ability of students and their families to sustain associated costs. Finding because we have a study saying, hey, wait a minute, we have states increasingly under budget pressure who have been cutting off their funding for state institutions, and the federal government willing to give everyone a loan on top of public institutions who are the recipients of these funds without any consequence that a person who graduates from their school is able to pay any of it back. You have completely for-profit enterprises that can also get in on the game too. Surely one can see this as a dangerous situation for today's students. The history about student loans. This is kind of when a whole generation was starting to get them because of the GI Bill. Americans returning from World War II received the GI Bill to go to school, and it really kind of gave birth, literally, to a whole generation of baby boomers, a massive economic engine that would propel student enrollment for decades to come. In our country. And then being a veteran myself, I certainly believe in these benefits, but it's also historical contents kind of keep in mind that during this time you didn't have to have a college degree to get a good paying job. There was only one, basically an earner in the household where someone was able to stay home and take care of the kids, and certainly it's not that case now, but certainly this was a good benefit to start making student loans or going to college a social institution. In terms of Americans going to college was the Higher Education Act in 1965. Lyndon B. Johnson ushered in a part of his Great Society. The HEA was a landmark bill passed and allowed baby boomers and subsequently many students in need of aid since to now attend college and make college education a social institution in the United States. After HEA passed, more people than ever attending college at still an affordable rate. At first, student funding to go to school came in the form of grants to low-income students, but over time, loans took their place. Today, about 70% of undergraduate students get funding in some way from the government, and this takes the form of loans, grants, and work study. And because of also attending colleges have risen so much, most students needing aid from the government need to take out loans. Of a history piece to provide context of our student loan crisis. Social Security came around in 1933. The first benefits collected in 1940, and that was really great for the older generation to have a safety net. But if you're not quite at retirement and you need to take out student loans, or you need to pay for your child to go to school, parent plus loans, just be aware that because federal student loans that can be garnished, including your Social Security check, up to 15%. So the result is not only a younger generation being affected by these student loans, but an older one as well. Pell Grant Program. This program gives 1.5 million more students access to higher education and is currently the most common form of financial aid for the low-income borrower. In most recent years, the usage of them has currently gone down due to the number of recipients from almost 50% from where it was 10 years earlier. But my concern so much isn't the government making the ability to go to school easier by receiving this money. It's more about the maximum available amount, which is currently the $5,815, which is just a drop in the bucket compared to what it costs to go to a four-year school. Making community college might be the only way people are able to afford to go to college for a low-income student, unless they want to incur some kind of significant amount of debt. Kind of backing up what I just said, we can see that Pell Grants have been going up and up as far as the expenditures. And while I think Pell Grants are a good thing, they give low-income students an opportunity to get aid to go to school. My concern is that the rising cost of education is not necessarily offsetting that. What's going to happen is that if a low-income student only gets $1,500 a year and it costs a lot more to go to college, they're going to have to end up taking a lot of student loan debt on. And if they don't graduate, then that debt is almost for nothing. Which is really concerning, and that can create a whole economic debt spiral. As far as a lot of people in debt, they have children later, they buy houses later just because they incurred this student debt. For-profit schools and concerning the debt. For-profit schools are nothing wrong with them. I mean, nothing wrong with trying to make money in America. That's capitalism. But as you can see, the student loan default rate is very much higher than the average four-year public institution, which is very concerning. I mean, now you're getting Title IV funds, you're getting money from the federal government to get these students in, and they're ending up defaulting. That's not good for the economy in the United States. I mean, people are going to have children later in life. They're going to buy their houses later in life. It's going to have a real problem within a whole generation. Showing the increased amount of people enrolled in for-profit private schools. They really have been going up the last few years. And if you haven't checked out the news, you can see some of these for-profit schools have been really practicing unscrupulous methods to get their students in. Though the worst part is that they get federal funds for their students. They get loans, they get Title IV funding, they get these Pell Grants. And if a student or the school closes down, the government's on the hook to pay them all the student loan discharges for the closed school. Ultimately, the taxpayers will be paying for that, which can hurt our economy even more. Levels rising and the average American worker's wages are either stagnant or dropping because of the cost of benefits are going up, our country could face serious debt crisis that's not unlike the housing crisis a few years ago. Student loan debt is not going to go away, and it's the most collectible debt there is. Wages can be garnished, tax returns intercepted, and are not easily discharged. These are things that can there are things we can do to combat this from happening, like educating people about the dangers of taking money that's so freely given without properly knowing the consequences, something an average 18-year-old freshman may not have a grasp on. But it's not all gloom and doom. A college education is still the best bet to make the most money in the United States, so certainly there's a case to be making an investment in it. The trouble is that there are some colleges that don't care if you graduate or if they're or not, because they're getting federal funds anyway. I hope that true reform will happen in the next few years so that institutions and students can be more aware of the impact that the student loans can have on generations of borrowers. And as you can see here in this slide, that the student loan debt has been going up, and then our median income has been going down, which can make these teeth right here, and that looks like Jaws a little bit, maybe a little crooked, but our student loan debt is a concern in our economy, which could lead to a bubble being burst. and game over. The whole world could blow up. We don't even know. Just kidding. But the fact that student loan debt is a serious issue is really concerning to me. I work at American Student Assistance in the Borrower Advocacy Department, so I help students with these issues. So I see this every day. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of your day.